Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Fierce Female Network as heard on WBON 1690 AM. Today is Monday. It is January 20th, 2020. And we want to say thank you for this opportunity. As well, it is Martin Luther King's birthday and celebrating and giving thanks for such a great leader as Dr. Martin Luther King. All right, he has done so many things, as everyone knows, the history of Dr. Martin Luther King, and such a great man. And just wanted to say that before we start off on tonight. On tonight, we're going to switch gears just a little bit. I do have with me this evening Mr. Gary Alston is also with me on tonight, and Miss Jacinda Dorian is with me as well. We're switching gears just a little bit on tonight. We're going to get into relationships a little bit later in this particular show. But starting off, we're going to talk about gun violence. Something really struck close to home when I viewed the news and watched what happened on last week on January 15th with the peace walk over at St. Sabina, where Michael Father Pfleger was doing a walk, and several hours after the walk, gun violence struck. A young man was killed and murdered. And so I really wanted to address this topic because it really hit close to home. St. Sabina is a very wonderful parish. St. Sabina does a lot of work as far as helping the needy, helping the homeless. And St. Sabina, as far as being a very contributor to my life when I went through a time where I was homeless. I lived at up on Wellington. I was just talking about it with an individual tonight. Up on Wellington on the north side, where there's a shelter, a really nice shelter where I stayed in the Bonaventure home. Bonaventure is a home for homeless individuals. And when I was going through my recovery, Bonaventure helped me greatly as far as rebuilding my life, recovering during that time from my brain aneurysm and just so many different things that I had to walk through major depression as far as going through rebuilding your life, trying to put your life back together is not easy and it's not fun. And it was a lot of work. And so Bonaventure and St. Sabina was there for us, a lot of the residents at Bonaventure, and Next Step, and them with bringing food and bringing clothing. And that's how I got through with the mothers over at St. Sabina, a lot of the parishioners that came and ate and encouraged. It's just so much. And so I wanted to take this particular time in this show and talk about gun violence and how in the city of Chicago, of course, we do have a lot of violence, whether it's guns, whether it's gangs, or whether it's, some robbings. There's always something going on. And I see the news and I watch the news a lot as far as within the inner city. There's a lot in African American communities that goes on as far as I don't understand why. I don't understand why it happens. I don't understand why we don't have to. It's a choice. It's a choice. Individuals choose to do what they do. I don't know why black-on-black crime happens. I don't know why. But Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matters. And so when I saw this on this young man, 23 years old, just putting his life back together, and something like this happens, it can't help but strike a chord with anyone, any breathing human being would have to feel some type of connection when something like that happened. This young man was a great putting his life back together. He was homeless at one point. He had maintained his housing, and so he was putting his life back together. He had great mentors that was helping him to get it together. And then this happens. I mean, it's just really, it's really awful. It's just very tragic. It's a tragic thing to happen. And so I just wanted to address this issue as far as violence. I want to address the issue as far as guns being in our city. And Father Michael Pfleger is an individual. For God's sakes, he was a person that was in my brother's wedding when my brother got married. So my brother got married at St. Sabina. And so there's just a lot of foundation. There's a lot of connection when it comes to that particular sanctuary. My brother's wife and their family grew up in St. Sabina. So, it just makes me cringe when things like that happen. And so sometimes I can't even find the words to express when that happens. And so that's what we're talking about for a little bit. And then we're going to switch gears at about 10:30, 10:35 and talk about relationship. But for right now, I want you guys to think about what you're doing. Whoever is listening, the listening audience, think about what you're doing when you do something that affects another person. When you do something that affects another person, you're not only affecting that individual, you're affecting the family, you're affecting the children, you're affecting everyone within that circle. You're affecting the friends, and I'm not accustomed to really talking about things negative, because violence is negative. Guns are, I don't want to say that they're negative. The people that use